My name is Brad St. Onge, and you're listening to the Passive Investor Show.
The views and opinions provided on this show are for informational purposes only and should not be misinterpreted as an offer to buy or sell any securities or to make or consider any investment or course of action. For more information, please go to passiveinvestorshow.com. Hey PI listeners, this is John Fortes. I'm making it a point to speak to as many investors as possible. My goal is to position myself to be a blessing to my network through conversation. How could one be a blessing through conversation? The easy answer is by listening. A simple conversation can open many opportunities and doors. I always ask myself this: what do I have to lose by having one more conversation? Going back to high school, I've connected friends and family in my network to one another, even if it didn't benefit me. And I continue those same principles and practices. Why? Because it's the right thing to do. If I can't help you, I probably know someone or something that can probably solve your problem. I'd love for you to become a part of that network. Go to www.johnfortes.com, create your investor profile, and schedule a call. How can I best serve you through conversation? In the words of Clarence the Angel from It's a Wonderful Life, no man is a failure who has friends.
And now, the Passive Investor Show. Here's your host, John Fortes.
Welcome, PI listeners, to the Passive Investor Show. I'm the Passive Investor Consultant, John Fortes, your host of the only ranked podcast for passive investors in multifamily syndications and real estate funds. Our goal and purpose of this show is to be a resource to investors and help them master their passive investments by beating inflation 1% at a time.
We interrupt this broadcast to bring you this special message.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back for another edition of the Passive Investor Show. I'm your host, John Fortes, and today I have basically my brother. He's someone I've worked with closely in last year. So I want to introduce you to Brad St. Onge. Brad started working in the mortgage industry on the wholesale side in 2003. After graduating from Central Michigan University, he focused primarily on residential lending for the first few years. He had a passion for learning more about commercial lending side. And when his company started to dabble in small commercial lending, he was one of the few account executives that had the opportunity to sell multifamily loans. However, this was around the time of the financial crisis of 08, 09, and the company would soon succumb to the national crisis. He eventually found his way to the banking industry. It was the experience that landed him a job running an investor relations department for a real estate private equity firm. At this firm, he would meet the founders of a startup investment management platform located in Detroit, Michigan, called InvestNext. The relationship he built with the founders, Kevin, Michael, and Matthew, would lead him to develop a passion for helping build a product that would help syndicators more effectively manage their investor base, run minor back office accounting, and ease the process of the capital raise. He is now the head of partnerships with InvestNext, where he works with their clients and growth team to continually add features and increase visibility of the InvestNext brand. Brad, welcome to the show, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's like I said, it's been a long, probably year and a half working together. So it's been good though. So pleasure to finally be on the show.
Absolutely, and let's talk about that, like that process for us. So, matter of fact, this is a good opportunity to just kind of like maybe even use me as a test study or test case where how I finally eventually got to you guys, and then the purpose of InvestNext and how we utilize it today for our investors. So like, I know we just dove into your background, but can you tell us a little bit more? Because I usually start off with, tell me how you got into this, right? But I think we can avoid that. But like, tell me about what you're doing today with InvestNext.
Yeah, so I'm head of partnerships, but essentially work with some of our key accounts or and we define that in different ways. It's like it either could be the amount of money that's spent per month, or if you're kind of like an influencer, we think you have a lot of, or like yourself, you're an influencer in the space, your podcast, you're very knowledgeable about what's going on. So especially with the fund aspect. So we pick your brain. So we'll try to dive in with you and Matthew specifically, and do kind of like think tanks where if you have some certain ideas, we'll pull someone from the development team, and the two of us will get together and we'll get on a call with you and say, all right, how can we make the portal a better experience for you? Because probably if it's going to help you, it's going to help someone else, especially with your knowledge on the space. So my goal is to always help with customer success. So I try to dive in whenever I can to help people out with filling out deal rooms, or just the minutia, the day-to-day stuff. I'll try to hop in whenever I can. But the overall goal is to, how can we create a better product than it is currently? How can we break it and make it better than it is? So I try to have conversations around that, and then just take them back to the development team and say, all right, this is what we found out from XYZ. How can we implement this? What should we implement? And then then we kind of get a time frame and go back and say, all right, let's this is feasible. This may take a little bit longer. So.
No, I love that. I love that because I've shared a ton of ideas with you since I'm onboarded. And it's probably like a spreadsheet along with the other users that you probably already have as well. Right. So let's back up, right? Because how did I eventually get to you guys? And a lot of people ask me, how did I choose a platform and why did I go with you guys? I wasn't looking for the cutest GUI for investors with a crappy back end, right? I was looking for a good back end with a feasible experience for investors. And my final three, you guys were in my top three, and I eventually landed on you guys because of what I liked, what I saw in development, and what I already needed right now. So that's kind of lined up perfectly for me. Now, it was more of the experience for the investors and the ease of use. Now, we always talk about that, right? So my biggest thing is, Brad, how can we make this easier for the investor? Because I need them to do this, but I don't want them to feel like it's a pain point every time I'm asking them. So that's one of the biggest things we go back and forth with. And you guys really, really do a good job of, implementing and speedlining those processes, because it's about the investor experience at the end of the day. Now, is that the same type of conversations you're having with other sponsors on the platform?
Yeah, investor base, investor experience, but also your experience too. So how can we make it easier for you? I mean, ultimately, if I build out a deal room, or someone new is building out a deal room, I'll try to, if I can, dive through their documents too when they've created them, and say, all right, how can we make this easier? Because we can pull a lot of fields in from data that we already know, or data we're about to capture during the process, and they may not know that, especially if it's their first time. So I'll try to dive through and see what we can pull through to make the investor experience. But ultimately, if it makes their experience easier, it's going to make your experience easier as well. So as far as like deal room and the e-signature template documents, I'll help with that as much as I can. I can't help everyone. And we've done a pretty good job of adding new videos, kind of showing people. And it's just if they watch them, or versus us, they want us to kind of run through it. But ultimately, it's their experience, which we're tweaking and we're rolling out with Investor Portal 2.0. Probably by the time the show comes out, hopefully it's out. So that should be around the corner. But your experience too, like how can we make that a lot better as well? So with you managing the pipeline as you're building out, but the back end stuff too. So distribution waterfall, how can we make that easier? How can we make it better? Maybe something that we think is pretty simple. It may not. We'll get feedback that, hey, this isn't as easy as you thought it was, or could we get another column here with maybe the funding status or paperwork status and or dates and certain things. So we take all that stuff back, and then we say, all right, is this something we can knock out real quick, or is this something that maybe we can add in a sprint a couple weeks down the road, and then we'll kind of dive into that. But the bigger stuff, we just added the ACH inbound payments, which makes your life a lot easier because you don't have to reconcile that. But that's a different conversation. But we push that up as opposed to Investor Portal 2.0 because we're weighing them. All right, which one? They both take a lot of development work. Which one is going to make your life easier?
Investors want the money.
It helps investors too.
Investors want the money.
Right, exactly. So it's being able to accept that while you're doing a capital raise. They now don't have to go to the bank and wire funds. They can just send it through the system. and you don't have to go to your bank and get a printout of what came in that day. If you have 500 grand coming in, a couple $50,000, you don't have to then go back to the system, reconcile, and put funds received. It'll hit your system. As soon as it does, it'll mark it funds received. So that was something we're like, all right, this will make both experiences a lot easier and a lot better, and it's a better streamlined process for you. So we push that in front of Investor Portal 2.0, which we were already developing, and then so we kind of do stuff like that, just based off of feedback. But that's the bigger stuff. Obviously takes a little bit longer, but we'll try to throw in little, because you guys are real good. Your group's good with, hey, found a bug here. If it's some, we'll try to add those into our sprint every week. Like, all right, let's fix this bug or this little weird kind of thing that keeps happening or stuff. So it's always awesome feedback every time we get that stuff. And some people are a little shy about it. I'm like, just hammer us with us. And I mean, because we think it's good. I know the portal inside and out. So I know, like, this is what we do. This is what we do. And it may not reflect that way in your end. So some of these conversations I'm having is like, it makes sense to me. It makes sense to the team because that's how we developed it, but may not present that way to you guys. So it's, how do we change that then? Because we want you to use it. Our goal is to eventually have, we have a ton of different videos where our goal is to have someone just come along, new syndicator, go to our website, sign up, get the portal, and just start putting everything in and start capital raising. So we've got a lot of videos that kind of help with that. We'll get to the point to where we can hopefully do that and take ourselves away from a lot of different phone calls. But until then, I'm always trying to hop on calls and at least keep everyone happy. As if you have questions and you're not asking, ask, because I have no problem helping on a call, or support team has no problem helping on a call with with a little bit of heads up. Obviously, it's later in the day right now. If you want me to hop on 15 minutes from now, maybe a little tough, but usually I try to make someone on the team will make themselves available. So that's kind of been our idea. But hopefully we're going to get to the point where you just brand new person just picks it up, runs with it, and then that'll be the day where it's like, all right, that's what we've been trying to create. But then at that point, someone will give us feedback. We'll probably break that and just change everything up again, just to kind of adapt and edit, because it seems like the whole industry just keeps changing all the time, and we're trying to either stay ahead of it or come up with other ways that we can pair with different partners that'll make the entire process a lot better and easier. So
no, I love everything you just said, because one of the biggest things you implemented quickly was the ACH. At that time, I was ramping up to start a fundraise, and it kind of came at a good time right before I rolled it out. And we rolled out the fund, and then we started collecting. A few people have taken advantage of that. But we tested it when we got distributions on my JV partners for our in-house deal. We tested it with our distribution back from our JV deal with my partners, and it was instant. It was amazingly fast. It was it was notifying me on the portal, hey, you can go check your account now. You got paid. Like it went through successfully. It was like so awesome. So that experience was great, and it was great to be able to test it before we roll out distributions to our investors. You know what I mean? So it was a great in-house test.
Yeah, it's funny because it'll notify you before, because there's just a lag in the computer systems where we'll have people say, hey, I don't see my bank account. I'm like, well, it hit today, and it'll be there at some point. They just haven't reconciled it on their end, but just know it's in the system. Then they'll hit us up later.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened, where it hit and we got the email. At least I got the email on my end. I'm like, yeah, it's all in your account now, blah, blah, blah. So I go look at my account and it's not there, but it's just a process of them hitting like approve on their end on the bank side, but it's in your account. It's just not there yet. So the bank has to do one final check before it gets through. So I checked a couple hours later and it was there.
Yeah. It's the banking system's a little unusual with me, with a little bit of a banking background. It's some stuff happens that you're just like, I don't understand why this is the way it is, but it's kind of funny how that the network works that way. But yeah, we're definitely proud of it. It was a quick turn from inception, or the idea of it. And, it's something we wanted to do. And we're like, all right, let's run with this, because this is going to be one of those things that makes life easier. And if you've raised funds as maybe like a co-GP and haven't collected them, it's gone somewhere else. You don't know the pain, or it's not it seems like it'd be easy to get, 800 grand in, and it's like, well, okay, what's the big issue? But reconciling that. So if I send you funds, as Brad St. Onge or something, and then I actually wire those as an LLC, that's ABC Ventures LLC, you get that on a line item from your bank account. You're like, who is this supposed to even go to? And then you have like a weird conversation. You have to wait a couple of days for it to finally like trickle out and go, all right, there's one person left that I haven't found it. Or you call up, like start calling people up like, hey, did you send me 50 grand? Which is just a weird conversation. So it helps kind of eliminate those kind of awkward conversations about
there goes the credibility.
right, exactly. Yeah.
No, so all right, so I just signed up for your portal and implementing right now. I think the videos you provide back when we need support, you guys are real instant, and I love the support on the site now too, with the little icon on the bottom right.
It's kind of funny. You get bombarded with my face, a lot, or Kevin's face, and everyone thinks it's me like pinging them, and they get mad at me. It's kind of funny, but anyway.
No, it's pretty cool. So you guys, like typically you get back with a short video because you are spread out with a bunch of calls during the day. We used to meet once every week, and then we moved it once every 2 weeks as I was on board. And so we started out with the phase of we get the page branded, right? The portal branded. And then we start updating context to it, right? Investor to the portal. Can you walk us through that portion of it as a new client? What do we do from there?
Yeah, so we'll have videos, and we have a checklist now too. So we've automated some of that stuff. So you'll get a checklist of things to do that you can go run through to kind of point you in the right direction. If you have questions, we've got that little icon that in the bottom right that you can go right to our help article. So you can say, all right, adding logo or something, you can type that in and it'll show you a little video of how that all works. As you get closer to a capital raise, we have videos on that, but at least the first couple of times we have no problem walking you through. We just want to get a little heads up on that. Like don't hit me up at noon and say, hey, 1 o'clock, I need to go live on this capital raise and haven't started anything. With a promise, we'll probably help out, but it's moving a lot of things to try to get that up and running, because we want to ultimately, you're using the portal to help raise capital is one of the huge features. So we want to make sure it's set up correctly, but we have videos on that you can just watch, and it's same thing as me walking you through it. It's me doing a video on it. So we have different things along the way that we've got with the checklist. Now it's nice because it points you like, have you done all this stuff? And you can kind of go through it at your own leisure. If you're in a super hurry, you don't have to wait for us. We don't have those calls every week where you're waiting around. It seems like when we had those would stop a lot of progress because everyone would wait to the call and then start doing a bunch of stuff right before and be like, hey, I can't do this, which we could have knocked out. If you had done it a week ago and just sent me an email or sent support an email saying, hey, I can't find this, could have been done. And so a lot of the stuff, it's been actually speeding up the process of people getting deployed, which is nice. But we found that the help articles were huge. So we had a huge push on creating those, and we actually would create those based off of feedback or questions that was kind of unintentional feedback. So as we started getting in our support line questions about something, or if we didn't have a video on it, one of us would make a video and send it back, but make it a general video so everyone else could see it. And then that kind of helped our help articles too, which ultimately helped the platform, because it's now other people with that same question can search it quickly and not wait for support to get back with, which may take a couple hours at some point too. So
trust me, I'm an idiot, and if I can do some of the things, then anybody can do some of the things. And I think I'm pretty tech savvy. So what I would do is I would set something up, and then I would probably ping you on a day that definitely we weren't meeting and say, hey, Brad, I did this. Can you just double check I did it right? You know what I mean? If I wasn't sure myself, or if I was a little waffly on the way I did it. So, you really came back and like, all set, good. Or if we had to redo it, we redo it. And it's, just one more thing. But that really didn't happen a lot. It was more of the conversations where, did you do this? I'm just asking because of blah, blah, blah. And you look great. So I'm like, all right, cool. I did it right. So idiot here that can do it. Anybody can do it.
Yeah. In the thing that really, really helps a ton is Loom. Loom's been a lifesaver. Cause like you said, I mean, my day's chaos is everyone's day is chaos. And it's, we'll have people say, can you give me a call? Like giving you a call actually does not help. Very rarely does it help, because I need to show you on the screen versus me calling you and you being in your car saying, hey, I couldn't do this. It's tough to walk you through that. So if it's always good to, if you send an email like, hey, I'm trying to do this, what do we do? Then Loom has been an absolute lifesaver, because if a call ends early and I got 7 minutes, I can look and go, I can knock that out real quick. And then I just go Loom, boom, record the video, just walk you through, send it back, and then you've seen it visually, instead of me. And it's not me typing out something, screen capturing it, sending it to you. I mean, because that doesn't take 7 minutes. 7 minutes could be me rambling most of the time, but I'll get to the point eventually and show you a bunch of stuff, and you'll get to see it. But it's been huge, and it saves a ton of time, and it's way better than a phone call, because the phone calls are not very, for about 99, upwards of 97%, they're not very beneficial versus a video or versus a screen calls like the Zoom share stuff. So we found that Loom has been essential for our video, and kind of like customer success and customer service has been huge for. It's funny because we'll start getting Loom videos back from people, and that's when I'm like, all right, this is hilarious, because they'll say, won't even be an email anymore. It's just a Loom video of, hey, I'm doing this. I'm doing, like, this is fantastic, because it's huge. And I think it's on a GP end, when you're sending something to your investors too, as far as, hey, I'm logging into the portal, I'm having a hard time. You can just log in, record yourself doing it, send it, and that helps out tremendously too. So I try to push people to do that. Especially on a capital raise, because you can capture that whole process. So if you do a new capital raise and you record a video of you as a new investor and just run through that process, maybe people don't watch it. I mean, that's their own fault if they don't. But if those people that do and that are having issues, they can easily walk through it and not have to wait for you, especially if it's Friday night at 9 o'clock at night and you're with your family or something. They can hopefully walk themselves through the stuff. So it's huge, and I think people that aren't using that should definitely start looking into it.
Just gave me an idea for a new video, a tutorial video. I'm gonna do that. Thanks, man. That's a really good do, especially when they first log into the portal. What I have right now is a welcome video, and I might just add another video, how to commit to a deal, is submit contribute to a deal, and go through the whole process. And you can add it as like a URL in the deal room too at the bottom, but it kind of gets hidden there. But you can put it at the top or put it at the home screen whenever you have a capital raise. You can add it on, or send it out with your email and say, hey, this is how you run through the whole process before they actually log in, since that probably makes more sense. Look at this, we're just brainstorming on the fly here. Hey everyone, if you manage your own rental properties, aren't you looking for a more sufficient way to streamline your to-do list and make the leasing process easier? Apartments.com lets you list your units, screen and receive applications, create leases, collect rent, and track maintenance and expenses, all on the #1 rental network for free. That's right, for free. Apartments.com isn't just for apartments. 29 million monthly visitors visit the site for all types of listings, like single-family homes, duplexes, condos, and townhomes. Renters view these specific listings over 100 million times per month. This valuable exposure and a robust suite of resources are available to you as a landlord for free. And it's all online, so you can access this information anywhere at any time. If you're ready to find the perfect tenant, get started today by listing your units on the #1 rental network. Go to apartments.com/John Fortes. That's apartments.com/John Fortes. Why not take advantage of the free tools right at our fingertips? Go to apartments.com/John Fortes. It's free. All right. So here's one of the biggest things too, as I made a decision to when I was researching investor portals, right? So there was a couple groups, and one group is does this, and one group does this well, and one group does that well. I shied away from a group that was primarily syndicators, and the reason why is I feel like if I'm doing all the work gaining investors, it's a conflict of interest. As you're building a portal for investors, I get the pain point and what you're trying to achieve, but I kind of went to, I floated more you guys' direction because of the fact that you guys are not syndicators. You guys are just basically a tech startup trying to do this, trying to go. And you personally came from a company that helped with capital raising. So you understand the process. So you give them a little backdoor insight along with, all the bugs that everybody else is finding. So
right.
What separates you guys from the other investor portals?
Yeah, that's interesting because that's something we've kind of been. I mean, we always could go start our own thing, capital raising. It's just not something we really want to do. I walked away. I was using InvestNext. That's I was, and then eventually like jumped on. But we all thought we'd rather spend all of our time on this software, devoting the software. I've actually heard of other companies kind of saying what you did, and the one said we've raised capital. It used to take us a couple months or a couple weeks, and now it's 48 hours, and it's like. I mean, you build relationships with investors. I have relationships with your investors, like indirectly, because they get customer success, and I've got people now following me on LinkedIn. And I bet you if I start raising capital again, some of your investors may be interested in those deals, and that's not something we wanted to do. Is it something we may do in the future? I doubt it. I don't know. I wouldn't do if we ever sold the company or down the road. I don't know what the future is going to be, but maybe eventually. But I probably wouldn't be part of InvestNext if I ever got back into that. And I know the founders, that's not something they're real interested. It's more like tech stuff and how do we make this better, or how do we add different aspects of technology to the platform to kind of make that better. That's kind of our goal, not capital raising. So that's kind of one part there. But I think what separates us is our distribution waterfall. I haven't seen one that's, I've seen a few because I've used a couple different portals as I was kind of testing them out when I used a capital raise. But just the waterfall that you can create, you can build your own waterfall. You're not using, you're not sending us your waterfall and they're kind of like hacking it up with an Excel spreadsheet in the back and then kicking out distributions or something like that. You can build it. You can go in there and create it. We'll hop on a call. You can build it in Excel. And then we can run it in InvestNext, and I'll tell you what Excel's done incorrectly, because I see this all the time. Like people will use Excel and they'll have like maybe an IRR model that they've built in, but it's included the GP portion of that IRR payment where it should just be the LP portion. And then now it's kicking out incorrectly. So your Excel spreadsheet that you've thought was like the way to do a distribution model is telling you what you wanted it to tell you, but you put the information in incorrectly. So when we build out a plan, it's usually we'll get on the phone with you, help you go through the operating agreement and mirror how we think the operating agreement is. Obviously, we'll tell you we're not attorneys. This is how we think it should look, but always go back to your attorney. But I think that's huge because and paying distributions. Not everyone does that. I know a bunch do, some don't. So I don't want to be the guy. It's like we're the only ones that do that. But I think we do a really good job of it, and we pay ACH out through the system, and that. Once again, that's one of those things. If you haven't done it, once you start doing it in the system, it saves you so much time. We had a company, a bigger company, that spent 8 hours the other day at the bank paying distributions, going to the bank, and he was like, "We're not doing this anymore. Like we're doing it through the portal because it would just be a couple. You'd go into each project, send a distribution, and send it. And it takes, if the amount of projects he had, it would probably take him, I think it was 27 minutes or something, but then we look at that and say, all right, how are we going to streamline that process? So we don't want this guy to, if he's got 30 projects he's paying out on July 1st, we still don't want him to go in each one and pay all these. So how can we streamline? So now he told us the story how it used to take 8 hours. Now it's taking him 20 some minutes or something, but now we're developing something like, let's make that even quicker. So we're using some technology to kind of do it all together and kind of, figure it all out. But that'll be eventually, and I'm excited. I saw just kind of a little bit of development on it, but that'll be something I think we can push out relatively quickly. But development, don't get mad if that's not something we can push out real quickly, because they always listen to these and kind of will pick me apart. But I think that's something we should have rolled out relatively. That will help these bigger companies of mass sending out distributions, because they go like some aren't bad if you've got a smaller group and you're sending it through the bank. They may have on auto pay and it's not a big deal, but most you have to run through these things, line items. If you have 350 investors in a deal, it's an absolute nightmare going to the bank and doing that. So so this just streamlines that and saves you a ton of time. So I love distributions, the whole thing about distributions. I absolutely love, and that's probably one of my favorite things. And I talk about that probably way too much, but inbound payments with ACH, the whole ACH as a whole, I'm a huge fan of, and that's kind of like the one thing I really of everything that kind of sticks out to me. There's probably more things, but I could keep talking and rambling on for a while about that. But,
that's pretty cool, man. Thanks for sharing. And
Yeah.
what if we are sending ACHs, but someone hasn't set up online? How does that happen? Does it just send them a check to that bank, or what is that process like?
Yeah, if they have their address set up, it'll send a check at that point. So it'll just cut a check. If they don't, then essentially you've got to reach out and either find a way for them to do one or the other. Obviously, we can't. If we don't have data for either one, then it's going to be in limbo and kind of up to you. But the system will let you know too. Or awesome. One of the nice things too, actually, is if, let's say I'm investor, I go in and I put the wrong banking info in, and now you send out a distribution, you'll get pinged by the system a day or two later saying, hey, there's something, it did not go through. So you don't have to go reinvent the wheel, redo the whole distribution. You can go back, you can look for Brad St. Onge, it'll have a red line on it saying, warning. You click on me, and then you see there'll be a little message or whatever it says, but then you can say, all right, Brad messes stuff up. So you ping me, Brad, fix your account numbers are wrong. I go in and set it, and then we get you back, and you click that, and then you click resend ACH, and it'll just resend to that one. So it's little stuff like that I think is huge, that saves you from them doing much. I mean, you're essentially just sending an email going like, hey, put this in, let me know when you're done, and then you just go back a couple clicks and you've now sent it back out. You don't have to, it's not the end of the world. So it's pretty nice.
Hey, Brad, man, what's one piece of advice for the PI listeners?
Do you want investor side, or do you want like GP side?
Investor side. Let's keep it investor side.
Perfect. All right. I'd say do your homework on the GP, so on the syndicators, and I mean, vet them, like have a conversation with them. Don't just see a bunch of that are just logging on and just sending money. That's fine too, and that's probably fine for all the GPs. They probably like that better. I liked when I was raising capital that when people actually had conversations and had questions, because then I knew if they had a couple of questions, I mean, it would get to the point if you had questions over and over and over for every project that it was like, all right, we've talked about this, maybe let's not do this. But the first couple, if you have questions about a project, you're just kind of feeling it out. I like that, because you then know when the distribution is going to happen, because you probably asked me when should I expect my distributions. You're going to know that. You're going to know what the pref is, or if we're not paying, if you're getting a pref, we're actually not expecting that in the pro forma, and you're only going to get 5% the first year, 6%, 7%, then we're refining. So whatever the issue is, or however the pro forma has been built, you're probably going to ask me that, and you're going to be a more intelligent investor based off of that. So have questions. And like I said, I like that as a capital raiser, because I knew this person, we went through a deep conversation. I'm probably not going to ping me 3 months from now and say, hey, where's my quarterly distribution? And I was like, well, this isn't a value add play that's distributing cash right away. It's a development play, so you kind of dive in. And I think if you do your due diligence, then every deal, you may have to just look over stuff and not have the conversation down the road. But if you trust the syndicator and trust the GP you're working with, that little homework up front will then save you down the road and be like, all right, I know if I've just, cash flow that's readily available, and John has another deal coming down in 3 months, I'm going to hop on it, because I know that he's done his homework. He's looked at deals and turned deals down, and he only takes the deals that he actually thinks make sense because I had a conversation with him. So I think just not just float money to people who are on the internet doing, raising these things, but actually once you do the due diligence, you can now get on and do whatever, and that John's going to kind of give you the deals that hit what your metrics are, what you're kind of looking for as an investor. So I think that's highly something that investors should be huge on. Investors kind of like to-do lists when they're doing this, and I think most probably do, but maybe not a lot ask questions. And like I said, not like you want them to pound you with questions, but it's good to actually have questions and have conversations, because that also builds a relationship between the two of you. So.
Yeah, make sure you ask, are you using InvestNext as your investor portal? And how are you submitting or providing a distribution?
That's I should have said that actually, because one of the things as well is that transparency, that visibility too on the back end too. So that's good to see, like, all right, if I invest with you, how am I going to know what's going on? How are you keeping me in the loop? Are you sending updates, et cetera? So that's probably the answer I should have said, but
Nah, man. I mean,
to use that next time.
investor portals are the separators now these days. If you don't have an investor portal these days, if you're starting an investment firm, small or big, I personally, I mean, I started from the ground up, but times have changed since then, and that's been like 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I was spreadsheeting, and now I'm not, because of one, how affordable these investor portals are these days, and two, how fast it is during the capital raise process. It saves a lot of time, and if you're not doing it this way, you're able to track every project, isolate projects, investors, silo them into their own investments that they're a part of, and then providing other investment opportunities in the future. I mean, everything's right there instead of keeping it tracked on a spreadsheet. And I love it, man. And I appreciate you coming on and sharing that. And one thing before we let you go, man, how do we stay in touch with you?
Perfect. I'm not huge on social media, but I'm trying to get better. So I'm on LinkedIn. So you can look me up, Brad St. Onge, on LinkedIn, but Brad at InvestNext. You can email me. You can, if you want to schedule a demo, you can go to investnext.com and schedule a demo. Sometimes I help on some of those as well too. But those are probably the best ways. I'm trying to slowly creep into Instagram. We're getting like an InvestNext. We've got an InvestNext one that I need to be more on and kind of create more content. But so I may start popping up on there more, but those are kind of the ways, I guess. So,
hey man, thanks for coming on. I would ask you my favorite question, and what is the meaning behind the company name? But I already had Kevin on, and he already told me, so we don't have to dive into that.
Perfect.
I appreciate you, man.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for having me on, and thanks for everything you and your group do. It's fantastic to watch you see everything that's grown over the last year, and so we'll help with that process too, and help kind of grow along with you, which is kind of the best part, I think, too. So
now one last question. I guess since I can't ask you my favorite question, I'm just gonna end it with this one. How are you guys marketing InvestNext, and how are you getting the word out to other sponsors? And are you guys even attending conferences in the future?
Yeah, we are. So that's interesting, because we've now got marketing person, but we've been pretty intentional with our growth model of it's been all referrals. So like mostly up until maybe 3 months ago. So it's all been someone used it as a GP and then invested in someone as an LP and then thought, all right, I'm going to start my own thing. I'm going to start using this one. And so it's all been referral, or they were an LP, but are starting to be a GP and they're starting to do it. So and we've partnered with some good groups like your group. There's a couple other different groups that we're like so excited about. And we're now to the point where we're like, all right, we're starting to grow our company. We're starting to get more employees. We're starting to train them up. And let's start turning that faucet and start actually getting out there a little bit. So you probably see me a little bit more on LinkedIn. I'll be on there more often. And like I said, we'll be on Instagram and maybe other Twitter and other stuff. But we're starting to finally start getting out there and start doing that. So we may start doing a little bit of ads, but it's all been word of mouth and referral, mostly a little bit of LinkedIn, because I've hopped on a couple podcasts too as well. And we've just seen a little bit. So it used to always amaze me when people would find us, because we weren't at that point where we were really trying to grow. We obviously wanted to grow, but we weren't we were pretty intentional, like, let's keep this to where we can still have good customer service and not grow too big. So that's kind of how it got to this point. But now we're going to start kind of hopefully flooding the market more and getting our name out more. But second part is conferences. I actually went to a conference last 2 weeks ago in Dallas, and I'm going to go to Best Ever in February, I believe, of next year. And I've got a few other ones sporadic around. I think I'm headed to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. See AJ Osborne, his group out there with Cedar Creek. And so I'll start bouncing around. So yeah, if anyone has good conferences to get to, we're still kind of testing them out. The IMN one was cool that we went to in Dallas, and we're going to kind of start tiptoeing our way through some of those and make sure that that's a good fit and that it's kind of worth our bang for our buck. But that first one was super cool. So
now, investors, make sure you're on an investor portal. It's the ease of use. If you're starting your own investment firm, make sure you get an investor portal. Start with InvestNext. Brad, thank you for stopping by the show today. We really enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Don't forget to download your free copy of the investment tracker. It allows you to track up to 5 investments, compare sponsors, markets, and most importantly, projected versus actual returns. To get your copy, go to www.projectedreturns.com. PI listeners, thank you for listening. As always, we hope this was the best resource for your investment strategy, but also the best use of your time. Remember, if this episode helps you, you can help us by leaving a review on iTunes. I hope you feel compelled enough to share it with someone you think this would resonate with as well. As much as it pains us to leave you, but you know what time it is. Time to go put this into practice. Till the next time we meet, happy investing. PI listeners, I'm grateful for your time and I appreciate you for listening. It would mean the world to me if you went to iTunes and left a rating and written review. Let me know how you feel about the show. It really makes a big difference with getting the podcast out there. Don't forget about our Facebook group, where all of our guests are members of. I'll be there to answer any of your questions, or even questions you might have for future guests. Subscribe so you can get the latest episodes and our fan favorite quick hitters. Finally, I want to keep you updated, so head over to johnfortes.com and sign up for the newsletter. If you're interested in partnering with me, sign up on the contact page so you can talk to me directly. I look forward to connecting with you. Happy investing.